Good day there once again, viewers. This is your mate Kamikaze78 here, coming to you guys with some more Overwatch content. So today guys, I wanted to have a chat about the competitive meta in Overwatch, and use a certain hero to drive the conversation per se, that hero being everyone's favourite Australian, or in the case of the Halloween event, everyone's favourite evil mastermind, Junkrat. Now, something that I've been noticing quite a lot lately in this current competitive season is how much people tend to hate other people for picking Junkrat, or defensive heroes for that matter, as it tends to go against the meta of 2 assault, 2 tank and 2 supportive heroes, or the uprising meta of 3 support and 3 tank heroes. A common argument I hear in the chat is, you could do so much better with something like a McCree, and I'll be honest, for a long time I was in the exact same mindset. Every time I saw someone pick a Junkrat for the role of DPS, my first thoughts were along the same lines, and I would consider our team to be at a significant disadvantage before the game had even started, because we had this Junkrat on our team when we could have something like a McCree, Soldier, or even a Tracer achieving the exact same role. However, this was up until I said fuck it recently and decided to give Junkrat a go for myself in a competitive game on the attacking side. As per expected, the first thing I saw in the chat was something along the lines of Junkrat please switch, thank you. But I persisted. I said I would change if it didn't work. And much to my surprise, I never ended up switching out of Junkrat. It ended up working from the very start to the very finish of the game, on both the attacking side and the defending side, with us netting a victory. I decided to test it in more games. Maybe we just got lucky, maybe the enemy team was really bad and uncoordinated in that game there. But Junkrat continued to work. I won 3 games in a row while playing as Junkrat. This got me thinking, why does everybody hate poor old Junkrat? Is it because he isn't in the offensive hero category? Or is it because he simply doesn't mesh well with the current meta? And to me, it's none of those things. If anything, I think it comes down to the risk factor that comes with playing as a Junkrat, or any other heroes that people aren't normally used to seeing in competitive teams. You see, if someone chooses to achieve the DPS role as a McCree, or as a Pharah, or any of the other offensive heroes for that matter, then the other members of the team can come to a reasonable assumption that that player will be able to fit the bill of a DPS role. Now this comes from the quote-unquote dominant meta that has been created by the Overwatch community that favours assault heroes over defense heroes, because the assault heroes are considered to be defense heroes that are practically a lot more versatile. Something that I also think plays a factor here is the mere exposure effect, which for all of those whom aren't familiar, is a psychological phenomenon which people develop a preference for things only because they are familiar with them. In the case of Overwatch, seeing someone pick a McCree in a competitive game is something which can be considered within the norm and thus isn't really questioned by the other members of the team. On the other hand, seeing someone pick a Torbjorn, even when on the defense, will spark up a considerable amount of concern among the other team members, and even results in some team members losing hope of winning the match altogether. And the presence of the mere exposure effect is something that is particularly prominent in competitive play, because people want to only work with team comps that they feel comfortable with because they want to win. People will often say that quick play is the place to experiment, competitive is the place to put what you have learnt from that experimentation to the test. And whilst I do understand that mentality, I gotta say that some characters that have huge potential, like Junkrat, are ignored completely in situations when they could be fantastically useful. Does this mean that I am saying that Junkrat should be picked for every game and every scenario? No way in hell. He, much like most heroes, has times and places where he should and shouldn't be used. But with that said, Junkrat is by far one of the best heroes when it comes to locking down choke points in defensive situations by just spamming a certain area with constant damage, and when played right, he could really put the hurt down in offensive situations. A well-placed trip mine could be what cripples an Ana-boosted Reaper's charge into battle, or a Genji's ultimate, or a Tracer's attempt to push a match into overtime. time. Good timing with his concussion mine can make him a very adaptable flanker. If there's a Reinhardt with a shield up keeping the whole enemy team safe, all you have to do as a Junkrat is jump up somewhere that is elevated above said enemy team and start lobbing grenades down onto this group, exposing yourself accordingly of course, and watch as the enemy team crumbles under your harassment. Learning the arcs of the grenades as well as certain bounce points means that you can very easily saturate a room or a choke point that enemies have occupied with damage without even putting yourself in danger. This is something that none of the other offensive heroes are capable of doing, and thus when people completely disregard Junkrat as a possible option, they completely disregard a way of dealing with a certain situation that you might be faced with. That's the glorious thing about Junkrat. He can most certainly kill enemy heroes outright if you are accurate with his grenades, but his power really comes from his ability to nail enemy heroes with a continuous stream of potential damage that at least keeps them on the edge, which paves way for other offensive heroes or even tank heroes to rush in and finish the job. With the current meta, a huge emphasis is placed on DPS heroes to kill the targets they engage, but then again, having an element of sustainability to keep the enemy team constantly on their toes is also very important. Junkrat is quite possibly one of the best heroes in the game when it comes to accomplishing this role of sustainable damage. So what am I saying here? This whole video so far might have sounded like a bit of a Junkrat appreciation video, but in the long run, I'm saying that the playstyles and strengths of less popular heroes shouldn't be instantly disregarded just because they aren't within the current meta. Team compositions in Overwatch should never be built from predetermined strategies, because by doing that, your team suddenly becomes unadaptable and therefore easy to counter. By taking a more fluid approach when getting into a game and by looking at what each hero can do to counter the enemy team or fill the gaps in on your team, you will have much more success in the competitive scene for sure. Just because a hero is in the defensive category, it doesn't mean that they aren't what you need to counter the enemy team's current composition. It's all about remaining open-minded and considering all possible options to get the edge in battle. You might have a Tracer really annoying your team. A Torbjorn might very well be the answer to at least soften up that Tracer so that your other current DPS heroes can finish the job. If you go into an Overwatch competitive match with one strategy and one strategy that you expect to work throughout the entirety of the game and refuse to switch up from, you are going to find yourself in a very rough patch. Adaptability is a key part of winning a game in Overwatch, and adaptability in Overwatch is achieved by being willing to change up your hero composition and by considering all heroes and what they have to offer for the team. And guys, on that note, that's going to wrap up today's video. If you guys went on to enjoy today's video, or if you found it informative in any way, shape or form, a backhanding of that like button would be greatly appreciated. And maybe you find yourself backhanding that like button and you are new to the channel, then please do feel free to backhand that subscribe button whilst you are at it. It would be greatly appreciated. Let me know what you think about this video and the contents of this video in the comment section down below. What did you think? Do you have any thoughts? Feel free to leave it down below. It would be greatly appreciated. Let's get a conversation going. Once again, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I'll be seeing you all next time. Have a good one.